One of the keys to winning your fantasy football league is making sure that you have running backs on your roster that are getting a ton of volume. Look, if we were to basically translate fantasy football to everyday life, we would say, like, my hair is like Dalvin Cook, right? Tons of volume. It looks good. You know that you want it, right? There's some other people, and, we're not going to name names, whose hair is more like, Keyshawn Vaughn. It's there, but you can't really see it. In this episode, we are going to talk about several guys in your draft that you could grab that are going to see some pretty high volume in 2021. Yo, what's going on? Headliner Nation, Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners. And it's time to talk about some running backs that are going to see some great volume in 2021. After you spend that first or second round pick maybe on a running back that you can lock in every single week, you're going to want to look for guys that are going to have a nice floor because they're going to get good volume every single week. And I'm going to talk about a few guys today that you can find in your draft at different price points that are going to make that work for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the draft guide is almost here. It drops on July 1st. Jake has been challenging you all in his videos. I want to one-up him a little bit, though. I already one-upped him in the intro. Let's one-up him here, though. If we can get 1,000 likes on this video, we're going to give away 2 draft guides. That's right. 2 draft guides, 1,000 likes. So if you're watching the video right now, make sure you hit that like button. Go pre-order your draft guide as well. If you pre-order it and we pick you, we're going to refund you. So head over to thefantasyheadliners.com after this video, pre-order your draft guide, $20, and on July 1st, you are going to get over 600 pages of pure fantasy football fire. Let's go ahead and jump into it, though, okay? And the running backs I'm going to be talking about today are not our usual suspects, right? We've got these volume monsters, these guys that we are going to find consistently in our first round, okay? These are not the guys I'm talking about. These are volume monsters. You've got your CMCs, your Cooks, your Kamaras, your Henrys. You could throw other guys into that. Barkley, if he ends up being fully healthy by the time the season starts. I mean, tons of people you can throw into there, right? Okay. I want to talk about guys that could potentially be coming at a little more of a discount this season. Okay, maybe if you decide to go wide receiver in your first round, maybe if you play like in a super flex or a 2 QB league and you go with a quarterback in your first round, maybe you're at the end of the first and you decide to get a little saucy and you bring in Travis Kelce, okay? Maybe that happens for you. Maybe if you need to get that RB1, here's some guys coming up that could be that RB1 for you, or a little bit later on in the draft could be some guys for safe floor. So let's take a look first at a guy who I thought he was going to be a lot cheaper this season. And I think his ADP is going to drop more throughout the offseason as we get closer to the season. It's Joe Mixon. A couple of weeks ago, actually probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was a guy that, if you were mock drafting, was kind of going in that third-ish round area. Maybe late second, highest in that middle to early third round. But the Cincinnati Bengals decided to walk away from Gio Bernard, and there has been some coach speak about, we want to see Mixon on the field for all 3 downs, and then there was a little bit more about, he might split some of those third downs, but we still want to get him more pass-catching work. Here's what we know about Joe Mixon this season, okay? The depth chart isn't anything to write home about, all right? Sam J. Perine, Travion Williams, Chris Evans. Now, Perine last season, after Mixon got hurt, he didn't start any games, but he didn't do that bad of a job of coming in and giving Gio a rest. He did average 4.8 yards per attempt, and that was a little bit later on in the season after that offensive line started to gel a little bit more. Travion Williams as well. He came in and he was able to put up, decent numbers in the very little carries he had. Now, keep in mind, Perine only had 63 carries, Williams only 26. So it's not, they didn't even combine for 100 carries last season. We know that Joe Mixon is on the type of contract that you feed when you sign. Like, you're not going to sign Joe Mixon to that type of a contract and then not feed him. I mean, last year before he got hurt, he led the league in touches for running backs. He was getting all of the touches to begin the season. They did bring in Chris Williams. I think Chris Evans and Travion Williams, could end up being guys that when we talk about splitting that third down work, those will be the two guys that they potentially look at on third downs. As of right now, his ADP, it is worrying me a little bit. If we get back into the late first like we were last year, you're not going to be able to buy him there, okay? It is a guy who loves Joe Mixon, and once again, this year thinks that he is a guy that could end up helping you. We're not going as high as I did last season. We are not going to go that high. Even his 2.04 right now is a little bit too high for me. So let's see how redraft leagues play out over the rest of the offseason. I think by the time that the heavy part of the draft season gets here, when we get closer to, through the biggest portion of training camp and then into the preseason, I think you're going to see Mixon start to slide back a little bit because you're going to see some of those redraft players that were playing last season get burnt by Mixon, come back and skip on him completely this year. So I'm still predicting by the time it's all said and done, late second, early third. Najee Harris, rookie for Pittsburgh, coming in with a current ADP of 2.05, and the depth chart right now behind him is absolutely a disaster. James Conner is gone, who was the best running back on the roster last year, and now we have Benny Snell Jr. left, who averaged 3.3 yards per carry last year. We have Anthony McFarland Jr. left, who averaged 3.4 yards per carry last year, and we have the ever headache-creating Kalen Ballage, who just doesn't seem to go away. All right, a lot of Ballage truthers out there love that he is still on a roster, but he's not going to challenge Najee Harris for any type of significant touches. Really, at this point, it's going to be Harris, and it's going to be Harris consistently. Anthony McFarland Jr. is a guy that I would like to see them work into the passing game a little bit. He does have the ability to create some explosive plays, but he is not your type of every down back. He is more of a number two back, a guy that, again, that can come in and be a guy that can catch some passes, a guy that you can do some delayed handoffs with that look like some different things that you can do in that route. He's not going to but again, just like Ballage, he's not going to be any type of an issue for Najee Harris when it comes to getting good volume. So the only thing that worries me about Harris, that offensive line is absolute garbage, okay? The volume's going to be there. How efficient is he going to be with that volume, though? One of the darlings of last season, one of the areas that we said, hey, Headliner Nation, skip on him, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. As much as we were not on CEH last year, I'm 100% on CEH this year. In fact, in the third round, I am smashing draft every single time CEH gets to me. I want him on my rosters this year. The reason we were off CEH last year is because people were trying to draft him in the mid-first round. There was people that were talking about wanting to draft him at like 1.03. They wanted him right after like Barkley and CMC in the first round. No, that was way too high. And if you did that, it ended up biting you. But don't forget about him this year, okay? Because on the roster this year, we've got Darrell Williams, who saw some touches last year, and really, honestly, it wasn't until the end of the season. If you look at the stats at the end of the season and you see games where he had 10 attempts, 13 attempts, and 13 attempts, including the playoffs, that's because CEH was hurt. Don't forget CEH got hurt towards the end of the season. Other than that, Darrell Williams never saw a game with more than 7 rushing attempts. So Darrell Williams, to me, is not a guy that I am worried about when it comes to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Darwin Thompson, I'm not worried about. Jerick McKinnon, I'm not worrying about. Those guys are depth. They're going to come on and they're going to spell CEH depending on the situation, but they are not going to take touches away from him. The former first-round pick is going to get more involved in the offense this year, and I am excited to see what they do with him. Hopefully, he can take care of some of those issues that he had scoring the football last year, and he can get on track this year. A guy that I like, Chris Carson, all right? it's tough to draft him knowing that he's had injury issues, okay? I mean, in his 2018 season, only 14 games. Did play in 15 games in 2019, back down to 12 in 2020. So he's had some injury issues. Rashaad Penny, the former first rounder, he's in the final year of his rookie contract. His fifth-year option was declined. He's coming off that knee surgery. I'm looking at Rashaad Penny late in drafts because if something happens to Carson, then Penny's going to step in and take over as that RB1. And before Penny got hurt and tore his ACL, he looked like the guy that was on the verge of a breakout, okay? I thought it was coming. It did not end up happening, but we know that he is going to be the number one if Chris Carson goes down. And then kind of behind that, Travis Homer and DJ Dallas, I mean, yeah, guys that did decent filling in last year when it was like they had absolutely nobody to run the football, but they're not going to challenge Chris Carson. You know, going right now in the fourth round, I would rather have that maybe a little bit more towards the back of the fourth, even in the fifth. But Rashaad Penny just had to have another procedure. Not that, I mean, just to kind of clean up the knee a little bit. They had to remove a couple of loose bodies. It's nothing that worries me in terms of him being ready for week one or even the preseason. So I'm not worried about that. But if Chris Carson can fall back into maybe that fifth round, and then we can get Rashaad Penny towards the end of our drafts, you have volume locked up in Seattle because they've already said, hey, we want to run the football. What about a newcomer in Atlanta? Mike Davis. I've talked about him quite a bit this offseason, and trust me, I've got an even bigger video coming with Mike Davis on why you should be drafting him this year. But to quickly touch on him, you know, fifth round ADP right now, towards the end of the fifth round, is absolutely perfect, especially for those of you that maybe went RB heavy and already have an RB1 and an RB2. Mike Davis is an RB3 is a smash, ladies and gentlemen. You are taking him in the fifth or sixth round as your RB3. As your RB2, I'm not that worried about it. As long as you have really good playmakers around him as your RB2 and you're able to get a couple of more guys later in your draft that can help out, it's a little bit more risky, but for those of you that, again, early in your draft maybe don't grab your running backs right away, Mike Davis as an RB2 is a good option. 195 carries last year from Todd Gurley on the Falcons are gone. 100 carries from Brian Hill last year on the Falcons are gone. 63 carries from Ito Smith on the Falcons last year are gone. Wow. That's right. We have all of those attempts opened up for Mike Davis. Olsen, he's not going to be any kind of an issue. Cordarrelle Patterson, I believe they try to get him involved in some different ways, but basically like it was in Chicago, right? He might get some weird carries out of the backfield where they're trying to get creative with their playmaking. I think now that Julio Jones is gone, maybe you see Cordarrelle Patterson back on the outside a little bit more. Russell Gage potentially stays in the slot, so that's something to keep an eye on. And Javian Hawkins, which was a free agent, undrafted free agent signing. Javian Hawkins is the guy to keep an eye on, but not really this year for me unless Mike Davis were to get hurt. Will he see some touches? Probably, but I don't see him getting any type of significant volume unless Mike Davis gets hurt, and then they move Hawkins into kind of that lead role. But Mike Davis, again, bigger video coming on him later on. Make sure you all keep an eye out for that. Finally, for me, this one's a little bit more of a risk, but at the given ADP at 8.10, I'm not that worried about it. I'm trying to get Michael Carter in as many drafts as possible this season. Drafted by the New York Jets, all he has there right now is LaMichael Pirine, Tevin Coleman, and Ty Johnson. Frank Gore, who had 187 attempts, is gone. LaMichael Pirine had 64 last year, but only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. To me, LaMichael Pirine fits more of that role where you are a 1B or number 2 back, where you're coming in, pass catching opportunities, and you're doing things of that nature, okay? To me, LaMichael Pirine is not that guy that is going to come out there and is going to give you 15 to 20 carries a game. For me, that is Michael Carter. Tevin Coleman is a failed experiment at this time. I mean, we saw some flashes at the beginning of his career when Kyle Shanahan was in Atlanta, but we haven't seen it then, and we sure as hell didn't see it when he went to San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. So that magic is kind of gone. I'm done with Tevin Coleman. Maybe you grab him as a late round flyer, but I'm taking Michael Carter 100%. And Ty Johnson, did decent with Detroit when he was in Detroit in kind of a limited role. 54 carries last year, 4.7 yards per carry. But again, kind of like Michael Pirine, he fits more of that role where he's coming in as a 1B or a 2 back, a change of pace type of guy. That's what Ty Johnson is. Michael Carter is really the only person on this roster that could take 15 to 20 carries a game and be able to handle that workload. And ladies and gentlemen, even if the Jets are going to be behind and the running won't be as efficient as we would like to see, and the 8th round is probably your RB4, depending on how you drafted, yeah, give me Michael Carter as much as possible. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, some running back options for you that you can take a shot on this year. Don't forget, we've opened up memberships here on YouTube. For those of you on Android or desktops, it's right down below next to the subscribe button. $5 a month is going to get you an extra live show during the season, member-only content, all of that good stuff. So make sure you hit that button. Become a member here on YouTube today. And you got some sweet emojis that you can use in the comments as well, and a badge next to your name. But I'm going to get out of here today, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, 1,000 likes. We're giving away 2 draft guides. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And leave me a comment down below. Out of these guys that I listed for you here at their given ADP, who do you want most to be your volume monster this season? Everybody have a great rest of the day. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.